the main story of the day and the great excitement surrounding the departure of Major Tim Peake to the International Space Station. With us are Carol Mundell. She's Professor of Extragalactic Astronomy and Head of Astrophysics at the University of Bath.
And alongside her, the woman who's possibly watching Tim Peake's progress, thinking, that could have been me, astrophysicist Dr Deepali Lodhia. Thank you both very much for coming in. So, first of all, how significant do you think that that Tim Peake is a Brit?
Well, I think it's very exciting that we have our own British astronaut now on the space station. I believe he's docked and should be going inside soon. And of course, Helen Sharman was the first British astronaut to fly up to the then space station, which was the Mir space station. She went up in 1991. So she really was a pioneer for us. And I think Tim is remarkable now for going up and sort of representing our country in that international collaboration up there in space.
Could you just unravel something very quickly? Because we've had a couple of emails. There is a first for Tim Peake, but obviously he's not the first Brit.
That's right, yeah, because he's actually funded through basically UK public funds through the European Space Agency. So this is the European equivalent of NASA in the States. And he is employed as an ESA astronaut, so he's a professional astronaut in that perspective.
Right, thank you.
Just tell us a bit about the selection process which you were involved with. How tough is it?
Oh, it's extremely tough. So there are lots and lots of different stages. First of all, you have the basic criteria that you need to meet. So, being British, being within a certain age range, and having the right qualifications as well, which I managed to make through, luckily. And then the second stage was just to have a medical exam. So, having good eyesight, hearing, and just, general fitness as well. So I made through that. And then the third stage was the more detailed application process. And I think that's when most of the people were filtered out, because it turns out that there were 8,000 applications all throughout Europe, and only 6 people were picked in the end.
The competition, just to get that far was amazing. But just watching the pictures of Tim today, how do you feel?
I am so happy for him. I really am. I mean, obviously, when I was turned down, I thought, but actually just seeing Tim on all of these different programs and seeing his personality shine through, I really think that the right man was picked.
Oh, that's very gracious of you.
But you're not going to give up, are you?
Absolutely not, no.
Definitely, and we'll rerun this interview over and over again, no doubt.
How important is the science of what they're doing up? Because I don't really understand what they're trying to get out of it.
Oh, there's a huge number of experiments being run up on the space station, and in particular that special microgravity environment. So everything from growing crystals to understand how to develop semiconductors, right through to the effect of space on the human body. Because obviously long term we hope to send humans to Mars, and that's a long space trip, and of course we have to understand the impact on the astronauts' bodies and then find ways to mitigate those so that we can send humans safely to Mars.
So we're talking about experiments that are relevant for us here back on Earth, but for space exploration as well. But this is so that things, when they're in this microgravity, it just reacts in a different way, doesn't it?
That's right. I mean, they're studying things like how aging happens. Obviously, that's really important for our population on Earth. We still don't really understand the aging process and some of the problems that come along with that. And also how things, for example, like bacteria behave, antibiotics, these kinds of things. And I think, the bottom line is when you go to an extreme environment, you learn all sorts of new things. And I think that's the goal of the International Space Station.
When I was a kid, I remember watching the Apollo landings. This seems, to be honest, a little tame compared with those momentous moments.
Well,
and yet we're 40 years on.
Well, I think, I know there's a whole generation of youngsters who grew up with the excitement of the space race. But I think we have become very blasé about space, and we have to remember that every time something is launched, it's incredibly dangerous. I mean, Tim and his colleagues were sitting on a giant firework then. We take it very much for granted. It's safe because we understand how to do it, but there's still risks. So I think every launch should be taken as seriously, if you like, as the Apollo mission.
I thought I was calm, and then I watched it, and I wasn't calm at all, and I haven't been for most of the time.
One-word answers from you. Is there life out there?
Yes.
Probably.
So we have a yes and a probably. It's so exciting. Is it what might lie ahead?
Stick to your guns.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's catch up with the weather here on